Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It is great to have you here on this Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning as it is for Art. Hello, Art.
It is Sunday morning. Hi, Gigi. How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
Not too bad. As we were just talking backstage, went to a friend's birthday party
Mhm.
last night, and feeling, to be quite honest, a little bit on the dusty side, but
Mm, mm.
um, it's all good.
Okay.
We'll work through it. How
Well,
are you?
I am just fine. Thank you. Today, my guest is Art Against Ignorance. Art is a musician. And if you have watched a lot of my content, he has done a lot of the music that has been in my content. I don't use a lot of music, but when I do use music, Art is usually the one that has made it for me. If you look at the credits and the description for every video I make, it says intro and outro by Art Against Ignorance, and this is Art, the one that made that intro that you just saw a moment ago. If you saw the video that I just put out the other day, it's Dry, It's the Flood, part two. There's some singing of the wheels on the bus, except it's the valleys of the earth go up and down, and that's Art singing that.
You always nail the lyrics. I love your lyrics.
And if you've watched the short that I made about Noah, let's see, what was that one? Oh, the uh Jesus hates all the children of the world, red and yellow, black and white. They are evil in his sight. Jesus hates the little children of the world. That's Art singing that one too.
Also great
I'm
lyrics.
sorry.
And actually, that one, we had a group. We had a bunch
Yes.
of people. You were in there too. Your voice was in there.
I didn't remember that. How about that?
Yes.
And actually, I'm wrong. It wasn't Jesus hates the little children, it's Jesus drowned the little children.
Jesus drowned the little children. Yeah.
Right.
Lovely lyrics.
Yes. To go with the lovely story of the massive genocide that
Absolutely. Yep. The lovely story of the Bible, which has a lot of killing and all types of different things happening.
Mhm.
Yeah, it fitted in perfectly with that. But yeah, that we had a community thing happening there
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
that. There's a I think there was 4 or 5 singers on that actually.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out really good.
Mm.
So today, Art is launching a new project, and we wanted to give you guys a heads up on this new project. We just had our first stream recently, and the new project is a group called the Utopians. And I see Claire is in the chat. Claire is one of our Utopians. Hello, Claire. And hello to everybody
Yeah.
else that's in the chat as well. Michael Bell, Badger, Mark Caesar, Mr.
Mark.
Shadow Kitty. Naked Olympics are the best Olympics. That's an interesting name.
Yeah. It sounds pretty good to me. Why not?
Hmm. So thank you all for coming. And yeah, the Utopians is a new channel that's kind of going to be a community and a social group. Art, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Utopians?
Well, the Utopians is the biggest band in the world.
Mm.
Yeah. Even bigger than the Beatles. No. When I say the biggest, I mean that so it's like a virtual global band, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
And just including people like from everywhere. And putting up the name the Utopians, obviously if you're a utopian and you have your ideas about the future and the way that you think things should be, yeah, it's based around that,
Hmm.
and it's about bringing a community together to create music and different stuff, music videos and things like that that revolve around progressive thinking and like free thought, all the types of things that people like yourself do and other people online. Just putting out good, positive ideas, that question things and challenge things. It's all about critical thinking and yeah, just all around that. But it's creative. and it's musical and artistic, and that's the whole point of it. That's everything that I do, because that's what I am. I'm a musician and an artist. So yeah, essentially that. But we are the biggest band in the world, and you're a member.
Yep. Yep. I'm one of the backup singers. Uh,
You and what a voice! I am.
I've told people that choir directors love me. I like to sing in choir because I don't have the best sense of rhythm and I'm not always sure exactly when to enter and so forth.
Yeah.
And
So you have a
choir directors love me because I watch them like a hawk to make sure I enter in the right spot.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so if you're with a group, it's easier to just kind of jump in and follow what everybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Blasphemy.
yeah, I know. They're the biggest band in the world, let's face it. Yeah, but once again, not talking about fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. The Beatles were only a four-piece. We
Mm-hmm.
could be a 1,000-piece by the time we finish. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and everybody's invited. It's just a very community-based idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's about putting good ideas revolving around, as I say, like free thought and progressive thinking. Yeah, just putting those kind of ideas out there in a creative and colorful way.
Now, currently, the Utopians only have, the last time I checked, they only had 28 subscribers. They
Yeah.
currently have 29. Let's see if we can't fix that. Let's see if we can't get that subscriber count up a bit. The link to the Utopians channel is both in the description and it's pinned in the chat. So if you aren't already subscribed to the Utopians, please go over and subscribe to the Utopians. And but by the end of the show, maybe we can double that number.
That would be awesome. And can I just say the channel's been there for a couple of years. It originally started, I did it with my friend Ganna, who you've met, Gigi, who is an artist, a digital artist. And it was meant to be an animated series. It was along the same lines of what the channel is now, but it was all going to be animated. And we found that there was just so much time and effort that had to be put into it. But it just kind of sat there. The idea just sat there. So it's kind of been revamped, and now we're doing it with real people. So if you go to that channel, you'll see that there's little cartoon characters and things in there. That's what it was meant to be, and we probably still will do some of that down the track. But yeah, we had to. It was just so much time and effort involved in putting those together. It wasn't practical. So that's why the channel has such low numbers too, is because it just kind of sat there dormant for more than a year now, almost a couple of years. But we're doing it with real people now.
Okay, very good. And we're going to be talking on a number of different topics, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you want a utopian society, you're going to be talking about a lot of different things. Obviously, religion being a big one. That's obviously your main thing, Granny. Revolves around religion. You're going to talk about society, politics. So it covers so many topics. But from a free thought perspective, I think that's the main thing, is that it comes from that position, and just progressive thinking. Yeah, kind of, I guess, caring about people. That's the main thing. Doing everything for the sake of people. Bands and things, I guess, can be consumer driven, and media in general can be consumer driven. And my approach is it should be altruistic, and it should be people driven, should be community. Ideas that we put out there should come from that angle. I think that's basically what it embodies. That's what it's all about.
And one of the things that we're going to be doing on that channel is trying to get a sense of community so that people in the
Yeah.
chat can join in,
Mm.
and we can talk about what our ideas are for what would make for a utopian society. What can we do to make things better? And sometimes it will be, just very simply having a place where you can talk about these things, and sometimes we'll have some suggestions about things that we can do to actually, obviously we're not going to achieve utopia, but at least we
Yeah.
can make things a little bit better.
Sure, it's a pipe dream. I mean, it's ultimately, I guess it's not realistic, but we all would like to see a perfect society. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be perfect, but we can all do stuff that tries to push it in that direction and just improve things for people, you know?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so essentially that's the idea behind it. And as you mentioned, like it's about community and bringing people together. So everybody that's there in the chat and beyond is welcome to contribute in a creative way. If anyone sings, plays an instrument, or whatever, just get in contact with me because we'll throw ideas out there that include, pretty much everybody that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Neked has one idea for us, and that is higher education must return to its essential foundations of academic integrity and the pursuit of knowledge instead of being corrupted by destructive ideologies.
Yeah.
Alabama Senator Will Barefoot. Interesting.
Barfoot, yeah.
Barfoot, sorry.
Um, yeah, well, this is true. The dumbing down of society, that's the thing, and we were having a chat about that yesterday, weren't we? Um,
Mhm.
just the dumbing down of society. So I really, really think it's important to put ideas out there that are thought-provoking, that challenge things, that question, because as I just mentioned before, like media in general tends to be consumer-driven.
Mhm.
And they don't want to challenge people's minds or put ideas out there that make people think. And that's pretty much my whole angle, is to put ideas out there that do that and counteract the whole dumbing down of society. You have things like reality TV and just television that is just very, I don't know who watches it, to be honest, but just very lame and non-challenging at all. And reality shows are the epitome of it for me.
Mm.
It's mind-numbing stuff to me.
I never even watched that stuff,
Yeah. Um,
except for the cooking shows. I like cooking shows.
but that's educational,
Right,
right?
right.
Like
But it
the
is reality TV.
it is reality TV, I guess. When I say that, I'm talking about shows like Big Brother and all
Yeah,
those
yeah, I
types of
would never
types
watch
of
that
things.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, it really, I don't know, it just puts the worst side of us out there, and I know it is an element of society and our personalities. There is that in us, but why do we always have to go down that road of putting that type of thing out there? I just feel as though we could make things more interesting and challenge people's minds, and yeah, just put some better, positive ideas out there instead of dragging us down all the time.
Mhm. Neked has an interesting follow-up. He says that, Barfoot was saying that against diversity, equity, and inclusiveness programs in colleges, but he accidentally said something accurate.
Yeah.
We have a question from Badger. Do either of you, which comes from the follow-up, know anything about prefigurative politics? And my answer to that is no. I do not know what
No.
prefigurative politics is.
Yeah. No idea, actually. No.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry, Badger.
Not sure. I would have to say, look, I personally, as much as I appreciate intellectual stuff that goes on there, I'm not personally an intellectual. I'd say that, Granny, you're honestly more with your research and the types of stuff that you do out there and the content that you put out is
Mhm.
definitely educational. I'm no intellectual person, but I appreciate intellectual ideas. So my whole shtick, if I can put it in that way, is trying to put those kind of ideas and thoughts out there in a creative way, so it's
Yes.
accessible to people,
Mhm.
and appealing, and yeah, like get outside that barrier where people may not really explore intellectual ideas. If you can present it in a way that is appealing and colorful, you might get across that barrier. That's my whole thing.
Okay.
But I'm no intellectual.
Michael N says there's been a general backlash against the pursuit of becoming smarter and learning more in American society at large in recent years, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly,
Mm.
Michael N. Particularly in the religious community, and which is a big part of why I am so anti-religion, is when I was in the religion, the teaching was you already know everything that you need to know, um, except other than getting to know our religion better. So there's no reason for you to read anything by anyone unless it's in support of our religion and in furtherance of our religion. And so that's what I did. I did read things that had to do with work or had to do with things that had absolutely no bearing on religion whatsoever. But I would never have read a book on evolution or a book on cosmology, anything that might have any bearing on religion. That was, there's no sense in reading it unless it's written by someone who's a believer.
Yeah. Because religion has all the answers, doesn't it? So you only need that one book. That's the
Mhm.
thing that always makes me laugh a little bit when you talk to someone who's religious and you're having a disagreement about a thing. They will always refer to the Bible, a passage in the Bible, whatever it happens to be. And they don't seem to understand that the whole point is that the book is the thing that we have a problem with.
Right.
Don't refer to your book, because that's where it starts from there.
Mhm.
You know, we
Mhm.
disagree with that entirely. So don't make points by referring to that book. It's pointless. But they
Mhm.
don't seem to understand that. Everything for a lot of religious people seems to fall back onto that. Going back to the book, it's the book we have a problem with
Mhm. Mhm.
itself.
So right now, how many members are there in the Utopians group?
Um, Look, it's a growing thing. We
Mhm.
have like a core group. So like even my family is involved in it. Both
Mhm.
my two oldest boys are musicians, and the middle one's a music producer. So they're involved. So we've got a local community here that's involved, so we can perform live things and yeah, do things in the studio together. But then it expands beyond that, and it includes people like yourself. um I don't know, I 20 or 30, I guess, if I'm
Oh,
talking
that's a good number.
literally. Yeah, and that includes other friends that are here in Australia but not in my local town,
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
that I speak to and have been in bands with in the past. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, there's a decent number, and I'd really like to see that grow and include people from all over the world. That's the whole point, and just to put creative and interesting ideas out there together as a
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So we could kinda have different panels each time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the idea is, with the channel, the Utopians, I don't necessarily want to be up the front and doing all the talking, which is why for our first stream, we had you as a guest host, Granny,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
great. You're a professional. You're good at this. This is not my thing. I'm a background person. Um, I like to produce music and create ideas in the background. But yeah, so there'll be a rotating panel. I want to really get as many people as possible and coming from different perspectives, and rotate a panel, although have a core group, which
Mhm.
I guess we do now. There's a few of
Mhm.
us there that are going to be regulars. But yeah, just to rotate that and give everybody a chance to jump in and, have an opinion and have ideas on things. The other thing is bringing in special guests down the track. Being like only our second live stream, which will be next weekend, it's a little bit soon to do that. But like in the near future, I'd like to bring in, some special guests to chat about specific topics, and be more focused on particular things. So that's a plan.
Right now, we're kind of working on getting a specific time that can be our regular time so that people can find us on a regular basis. We're still kind of trying to work out when works for the most people. And the last stream we had was at like a 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, which is Central Time. It was 5 p.m. Eastern Time and 3 Mountain and 2 Pacific. And some other time in Australia.
Yeah. Some ridiculous hour. Well, that's the thing. Like at the moment, I'm kind of focused on a US audience as well, because I don't know, there's more activity there. It just seems to be honest, that they're all the kind of channels that I've watched over the years, mostly being American-based channels. Like I used to watch Atheist Experience and things like that. So, and also a lot of political channels. I like Secular Talk and shows like that. It all seems to be American-based. So it just feels like a natural thing for me to, work around a US audience. So you're trying to find a time can be difficult because we're pretty
Right.
much on the opposite end of everything that happens,
And we also want to get a time that's conducive to getting a good audience. And we're
Yeah.
looking at maybe
Yeah.
7 p.m. Central, which was 8 p.m. Eastern, and that's getting into prime time for most people. Most
Okay.
people are home from work by then, Friday
Yeah.
night.
Okay.
Yeah.
7 or 8 p.m. So I've got no idea when that's going to work for me. Because I guess the
Well,
problem
that's
is
pretty much the time we talked about for the next stream.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. So you think that is a good prime time
Yeah, I think that's a
time
good
to do
prime
it?
time.
Yeah, because I think it's about consistency and picking a time that does work for an audience. And I guess for me, it kind of has to be a weekend at the moment, because that prime time for me at the moment, if it was to happen through the week, is difficult. Like having a full-time job. So everything that I try and do is happening outside of work. The typical 9 to 5, 5 days a week kind of job. Gets in the way of what I really want to do, which is this. So yeah, for me, it's got to be a weekend. A Saturday is good for me. So at the moment, I think that's where it's got to sit.
Naked points out that that's 1 a.m. In the UK, which
Right.
I
Yeah.
realize,
Mm,
yeah, which is a big part of the reason why I moved this show to Saturday afternoons, was so that
yeah.
I can occasionally have guests from the UK on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I've got a couple of friends in the UK as well, and people that I do things with creatively.
Mhm.
And it is, yeah, it's really awkward. Look, it's impossible, isn't it, really, to bring everybody, and you can't kind of suit everybody.
Yeah, that's true, you can't.
Yeah, which I guess is why for me, like the audience that I want to focus on is the US, because it's just practical to pick a time slot and say this is when we're going to do it.
Mhm.
And most of the activity happens in the US. That's the way I see it anyway.
Mhm.
And most of everybody that's out there and doing things that I find interesting, like yourself,
Mhm.
US channels too. So yeah, it really is kind of a natural progression for me to go in that direction.
Let's talk a little bit about, some of the people that are gonna be involved in this
Yeah.
project. One of them is Aaron Lewis. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about Aaron Lewis.
Erin's got an interesting background. She would call herself that too. she was a stripper, an exotic dancer, if you want to say. And her thing was she always wanted to be an author. And then she went ahead and did that. So she's written, to begin with, like autobiography. She's
Mhm.
done 2 of those. I've read one of them. I haven't read the very first one yet, but I will get around to it because she's a very good writer. And Erin also does some fantasy novels too. So she does horror fiction. But the thing that I love about what Erin does is that she brings free thought ideas and progressive thinking into her books, and she puts it across in a colorful way that
Mm.
is appealing to an audience who may not, be specifically interested in those ideas. They're reading the book because it's what they want. It's horror, it's blood, it's gore, it's all those things. But it's also putting ideas out there that come from a free thought perspective, challenging religion. That's a big part of it. Her book, South of Heaven, actually, just coincidentally,
Mhm.
that book there, yep,
Mhm.
South of Heaven, is really good because, yeah, it's a fun story and a fun idea, great concept, and yeah, she puts a lot of ideas out there. It's thought provoking, it makes people think. So yeah, Erin's on board, and she's gonna be doing little bits and pieces. I think basically book readings and things like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so really, it's employing everybody's talents, what they're good at. We've got Ghana, who's an artist, a digital artist, who I think I mentioned before.
Mhm.
She does all the animations and cartoon characters and things like that. So she's on board. We've got Claire, who's in the chat as well. Um, and yeah, just a bunch of there are other musicians.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Madam Who.
Madam Who, yeah, of course, there's Madam Who as well. Yeah, she's a humanist artist. That's how she would describe herself. Um, and also likes to put those kind of free thought ideas out there through her music. And yeah, she's a very talented lady.
Mhm.
And we're kind of on a similar plane, I guess, because she's a writer, producer, and we connect in that way on a musical level.
Mhm.
And yeah, we've done some things together already, and there's going to be more of that on my other channel, Art Against Ignorance. Yeah, done some things together, and we're going to be doing more of that on the Utopians.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so she's definitely one to look out for. You should go and check her music out.
Mhm.
Yeah, so she's another one on a musical level. Yeah,
Mhm.
she's great.
And Blatant Blathiest?
And Blatant Blathiest as well. Like, if you've checked out any of his rap music, and he's just put out an album recently, which I haven't listened to all of it, but I've listened to a handful of tracks. He blows me away, actually. He's, he's full of surprises,
Mhm.
because essentially he's a rap artist,
Mhm.
but like he's got a great voice as well, and like his harmonies and things like that are just awesome. Like, just a naturally talented guy, and also putting out intelligent content which is appealing. I think he mostly focuses on religious stuff,
Mhm.
or non-religious atheist, I guess, stuff.
Mhm.
As opposed to Madam who doesn't necessarily always go in that direction, but there's
Mhm.
still ideas out there that point towards a lack of belief. But whereas Blatant Blathiest is pretty much all that. And yeah, we've done some bits and pieces together too. Both these guys are really busy, so I try and work with them as often as possible, but it
Mhm.
can be difficult because they're both focused on their own projects. Um, but yeah, so there's a bunch of different types of artists and people out there that are contributing at the moment, and we just want to let that grow. Neil 604 Atheist. I was on his channel. He's a great singer.
Really? I didn't know he sang.
Yes, he had a band. I don't think he's doing anything at the moment. At least last time I checked,
Hmm.
there was a change of lineup for various reasons. But I talked to him about, doing stuff. So we'll be getting him on board at some stage. I know he's got things happening in his life and his world, which are, doesn't allow him to do that at the moment. But yeah, you've got no idea actually the amount of people that are musical and like talented artists out there. Angie Dell is an awesome singer,
Hmm.
very country kind of a vibe.
Mm.
Um, uh, Shelley Siegel, people heard of her. She wrote the Atheist Experience piece of music. I've done stuff with her in the past, and I'm hoping to get back and do things with her again in the future.
Wonder
Um,
Lady says that Shadow Kitty is a wonderful musician. I did not
okay,
know
okay,
that.
all right. Um, I do know the name Shadow Kitty. That's someone that I've seen on social media, but I don't know too much about that person. But please get them to get in contact with me because it's all inclusive. I want to get everybody involved in it.
Okay.
It's a community. It's a community. And I mean, you don't have to be a professional musician or artist. It doesn't matter. If you have something to offer, it's more about bringing people from this community together to throw out creative ideas. Yes, already going to be using some of Wonder Lady stuff. Yeah,
As
right.
host says, I'm a
Okay,
wonderful
good.
singer in the shower alone, and the dogs join in, and some might say they are howling. I call them backup singers.
Yes. You can bring the dogs and everything in. Look, um, yeah, look, it's kind of fun. It's a community thing, and it doesn't matter if you're a person that sings in the shower, and that's the extent of your musical offerings to the planet. If that's what you do, that's what you do. But look, it's all welcome because also look from my position as a music producer, really, but mostly a writer. It's it's fun to
Mhm.
bring all the different characters in there and voices to make something creative. It in itself is artistic, incorporating that into the music and bringing different voices in. And like we've only just begun with that. So yeah, the bark up singers.
Backup singers. Yep.
Yeah. So dogs welcome, by the way.
So Mr. Shadow Kitty said that he's been a professional musician for the last 47 years. So
Yeah.
Mr. Shadow Kitty, if you and Art can kind of get together, maybe you can contribute some things for the Utopians as well. That would be great.
Look, absolutely. Just get people to get in contact with me because, look, I suppose that's one thing is chasing people up and getting them involved and making them realize, look, you are welcome, and it's putting out ideas there for the community and trying
Mhm.
to get people to realize that they can contribute because I think a lot of people out there just think, oh, really, can I do this? I'm not really a musician or I'm not a singer or whatever, what can I offer? And I think people get a bit shy with it. So you can end up chasing people up. Please realize that it is very open to the community. And I want you to approach me with ideas. That's the
Mhm.
thing, because everything that can be done is going to be better with people's contributions. Even if it's not musical, just ideas, concepts for a topic for a song or whatever. Like everyone can contribute. Please don't be shy. Come forward and we will talk and throw ideas together.
So if you want to sing something and send it to Art, Art can use that. The show is going to incorporate presenting things that have been pre-made. If you've written a poem that you would like to contribute, you could read your poem, and we can play a clip of you reading your poem. Or if you want to send it to us, I can read your poem on the show. If
Mm.
you have an idea that you'd like us to discuss, just let us know what that idea is, and we can make that one of the topics we discuss on a particular night. If it's a really deep topic, maybe we'll put together a whole panel to talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is kind of going to be a consumer driven thing to a certain extent. You know, we'll put together what's going what we're going to do the first couple of shows because we don't have anything coming in from the audience yet. But the audience is welcome to contribute anything that you want us to do.
Yeah. And like it is, I guess in a way it's challenging consumer driven ideas because you said it's a consumer driven thing and in a way it is, but it's an altruistic consumer
Yes,
driven thing. So it's doing it for people and not for the sake of trying to sell a product or
right.
whatever. It's very community orientated. So yes, we are trying to build an audience around that, but its purpose is different to what, say, a band in general might be, or I guess any kind of media that's put out there can often be specifically for that idea of making money, you know, and
Nick,
yeah,
Nick, it says what audience? We're all members.
yep. And look, you're absolutely all welcome. So I just want to make that clear. And I guess the only thing is it does come from, a free thought, progressive perspective, but the people in your audience are essentially that anyway. So, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, if someone comes along with a religious idea and they want to sing about religion and talk about how great Jesus is, well, it's kind of not, it's kind of
Yeah,
not
yeah,
what
yeah,
that's
that's true. Because
Christian world.
that's
Go to Christian music channel,
right.
because it's kind of against the whole belief system. But essentially, it's very open to ideas. But obviously, we're not going to start singing about how great Jesus is because we don't believe that Jesus existed. So, um, yeah, that would be the only line that would be drawn, I guess.
We have a poem from Asho who says, "Roses are red, violets are blue. Ken Ham is an idiot. Kent Hovind is too." And Michael
Yeah,
N made the comment that that is an insult to idiots everywhere.
yeah. All this stuff is kind of hilarious. I mean,
Mhm.
even things like that could be incorporated in a way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and to be honest, the more people that are throwing ideas forward, putting ideas forward, it gives you content to work with, and it's giving you ideas to try and create something around that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, even comedy and humor, like we were talking about Blatant Blathiest before, he actually doesn't describe himself as a rap artist or a musician. He describes himself as a comedian in training. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
his angle. He, I think, sees himself more as a comedian before anything else.
Okay.
Um,
I was going to ask that because I thought his songs tend to be more on the comic side, but then I
yeah.
thought, oh, I must be thinking of someone else because when you started describing him, I wasn't getting that
Mm.
vibe.
It's pretty hardcore rap, and it really does cut. His topics they're all very religious, and I wouldn't say that the comedy or the humor really comes through in the music that I've listened to
Mhm.
by him. But he is separately to that a comedian. He's posted videos where he does stand-up comedy and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'll be doing more stuff with BB down the track. But he's another one of those guys that's just really busy, and he has just finished his own album. So you should go and check his channel out, Blatant Blathiest. It's a great channel. He's always putting out content, and it's mostly rap music based stuff. Every now and then he'll do some different things, but yeah, it's mostly music, and it's very good. It's worth checking out.
Neked has a interesting comment here. Gospel music, the key of, I think that's supposed to be Christianity, has tried to monopolize the psychosomatic, physiological, I don't even know how to say that word,
Amygdala.
responses. Okay. Responses like goosebumps and call it the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
Let's reclaim that for free thought. What a
Ex-
great idea.
yeah.
Because he's absolutely right. I know there have been many times in church services that I have felt the spirit
Yeah.
and it's really the music. And one of the most profound experiences of that was when I was a teenager and I went and visited Notre Dame. The
Mm,
first time I went into Notre Dame, I felt the presence of the Holy Spirit like I'd
mm.
never felt before. And I thought, "Oh, wow, this is really something." And I enjoyed it so much, I wanted to go back and feel it again, and I went back the next day, and it wasn't there.
Yeah.
I felt nothing. And you know what the difference was? The pipe organ wasn't playing.
Right.
The
Okay.
first time I
That
was
was the
there, the
music.
pipe
Yeah.
organ was playing, and the
Yeah.
second time I came, it was quiet. And
Yeah.
so all of that Holy Spirit that I was feeling, it wasn't a God, it was the music. I was
Yeah.
feeling the
Yeah.
music.
And that's and it was perfect, that comment, about r- religion, or religious people do claim all of the beauty on the planet and attribute it to God, you know?
Yes,
And
yes.
all we're saying is it's not necessarily God. Like, that's just
Mhm,
a belief. The music and the art and the beauty, the nature that's out there, it's we don't attribute it to God. Like, it doesn't have to be that. It's just nature. It just happens. That's all we're saying. And they do tend to claim all of that stuff.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah, and it really isn't. And I've been there too, to the Vatican,
mhm.
and the opulence, the treasures that are in that place. Actually, it was just last year.
Mm.
I was
I was
communicating with you while I was over there.
I'm sorry, what?
And I communicated with you. We were
Oh,
talking
yes,
online on
yes.
Twitter while
Mhm,
I was there. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. Like, it just blew me away. The contradiction. Just to change the topic from what we were saying before. Is amazing. Like, the opulence and the treasures and everything, to me, was the opposite of what If Your Jesus Existed was talking about. It was all about riches, and it was beyond. Like, you've been there. So all the statues and the treasures, I don't know how much of it was gold or whatever, but I mean, like, just next level, about possessions and everything that's the opposite of what the Bible's supposed to be about, or what Jesus is supposed to be about. Why don't people look at that and see the blatant contradiction? Why doesn't that immediately make you want to question it? Why can't people see through the blatant hypocrisy that's staring you in the face when you go to the Vatican? Jesus is about, the poor and the meek and whatever, and caring about people, and give to your brother, and all the good things that we all agree with. If Jesus existed,
mhm,
overall, he's seemingly not too bad a guy.
mhm, mhm,
But religion, you go to the Vatican, and it's completely the opposite. It's about taking things and having possessions, and I don't see why people can't see the blatant hypocrisy. The Pope comes out in a big crown on a big throne, getting wheeled through there, like some superhuman being. Like, the hypocrisy just astounds me, and people can sit and look at that and think, yeah, this is all normal. Yep, that makes perfect sense.
mhm.
That's what Jesus stands for.
I had the exact same reaction when I went to the Vatican just a year or 2 before you did.
Yeah.
And, the hall of statuary was the one that just made me so angry
Yep.
because most of the Vatican a lot of the art treasures there are things that
Mm.
were specifically made for the
Yep.
Vatican or the
Yeah.
church commissioned
Mm.
them, and I have no problem with the Vatican having those things. I mean,
Yeah.
those things were made for them or even with their own money.
Yep.
But the hall of statuary is a completely different story. There was a time when the Vatican was also the king of Italy, and anything that was
Mm.
found in Italy belonged to the Pope because the Pope was the king of Italy.
Yeah.
And when Mussolini came to power, the Vatican was no longer the Pope was no longer the king of Italy at that point. That was where they turned over power. And right before that happened, the Vatican took all of the statuary that had been unearthed in the entire country and put it all in the Vatican so that they could keep it for themselves.
Mm,
And they have this huge hall of Greek and Roman statues, columns, just all kinds of stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with
mm.
Christianity.
Yeah,
It wasn't commissioned by the Christian Church.
yeah,
It was simply happened to have been excavated while the Pope was the King of Italy, and the church has claimed all of that for itself. It's absolutely
mm,
priceless.
yeah.
If they were to sell
Mm.
that, they could support an entire third world country with that.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
right, yep, and the fact that it's not theirs, like, they could at
Right.
least give it back to
They could at least give it
the
back to the
country that
people of Italy,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And let the Italian people have that in
mm,
a museum. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But well, that's exactly the entire point. It's like, how can you have all these riches? And just let me say, the art and everything that's in there is extremely impressive. I won't
Mhm.
say that I'm not taken aback. I'm not breathtaken by the what's presented in there when you walk through the Vatican. It's mind-boggling. It really is. It's an amazing experience. But yeah, just the contradictions. I don't know, are just too blatant for me. And like you just said, why not take that and use it for some good? Like, there's poverty, there's, you know, issues happening in society that, in a way can be dealt with financially. Most things, not everything, but most things can be dealt with financially.
Mhm.
Why not inject that? You are the religious people, you are the Christians, you're the ones that are supposed to care about everybody. Why not inject that into society? Yeah, it just stuns me, to be honest. But I guess we've got such a long history of religion. It's kind of embedded in society, and it just lingers on. We still have Catholic schools and things like that. It's just there. It just
Mhm.
continues on. It's so hard to break that whole process, I guess.
That was one thing that I also noticed while I was there in Italy is that even though a lot of the people are no longer so steeped in the religion that they're, going to church every Sunday and believing everything the Catholic Church tells them, it is so ingrained in their culture
Mm,
that I don't
yeah,
know that they could ever give it up entirely.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, but whether you can completely get rid of it, I don't know. But yeah, it is. It's almost a part of their being in particular. Without even making an effort to be religious, you're just kind of brought up that way. I mean, it's like us with, I got married in a church.
Mhm,
My kids were christened because it's just the traditional thing to do.
mhm,
And really, I've never been a religious person, but you just kind of go along with it. Oh, yeah, we'll have
mhm,
our kids christened. You go to funerals and things like that at church. So you're just kind of brought up with it in that way.
mhm,
Yeah, so I guess especially in a country like Italy, where really that's where it all kind of happened. You can understand why it is so ingrained in them, and they can't kind of get away from it. It's just
mhm,
around you everywhere. Even here with all the Catholic schools and things. My own kids went to a Catholic school because it was handy. It's just up the road.
mm,
But we're not religious, but we're happy to have them go there. It was a good little school, but they're putting religious ideas. Everything's kind of based around faith, even if the faith is kind of just squashed a little bit in the background. It's always there. It's always lingering.
mhm. Okay, there's a comment that or a question rather that I've had, that I've been holding for a while. It goes back to something we were talking about earlier. Ever heard the song Labor? It's got a haunting quality because of the chant vibe. I'm not familiar with that song. Are you, Art?
No, I'm not. I'm
Oh,
not. What is it? Who's the artist? And whatever. And by the way, Wonder Lady, some of your art is going to be getting used pretty soon. Well, we have spoken about that anyway, but I'm going to be using some of the digital artwork in some things that you've sent me in the past. No,
Paris
who's
Paloma is the artist.
okay? I'm not sure. send it through to me. I'd be interested to have a listen. Even just a link to like a YouTube video or whatever would be cool.
Okay.
I'm always keen to explore, different music. That's kind of my thing. Yeah. But in talk like what we're just talking about before with the Vatican and religion and that. Look, I guess there is a need in society for some kind of a spiritual connection, and I have no issue with people needing that and maybe turning to religion, for that reason. But I don't think it needs a god. I think we can be spiritual and just look at nature and just accept the fact that there maybe is an ultimate truth out there. But we're maybe never going to discover what that is. If we do, it's going to be through science, I guess. But we likely will never know, the complete answers to these things. But we can still connect, with the universe and existence as a whole and get that spiritual feeling. I understand that need. That's kind of what made me go through my whole process. Exploring religion a little bit. For me, it was more kind of, I guess, new age spirituality. I went down that path a little bit because I needed something. It kind of what led me to become like just an atheist and not really believe in anything apart from just nature and the wonder of everything that's going on around us, and the fact that, I'm probably going to die not knowing the answers. But anything's possible. I don't know. Maybe I will have another life. I don't know. I don't know the answers. But yeah, look,
And
we do
even
need
if you
that
do,
spirituality.
you may not realize that you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if people are reincarnated into another person, we would never know that we'd ever had a past life.
Exactly. You would just be born into a young little body. I don't know. You may sense something that things that happen, throughout your life that seem odd. But yeah, you wouldn't know, would you? But look, that's it's just another fantasy idea, isn't it? Really. It's interesting. I think even Richard Dawkins. Is it Richard Dawkins or it was someone like that? No, it was Carl Sagan. It was Carl Sagan.
Who said what?
I think in the Demon Haunted World that said if there was anything that I would explore that interests him as a possibility, it would be reincarnation. He did state, I don't believe that it's real, but I'd be more willing to explore that area than I would the likelihood of an afterlife in a heaven or something like that.
Right.
Because that's clearly a fantasy, right? But the idea of reincarnation is kind of more plausible. I don't believe in that either. I don't think that's a thing, but we don't know. Maybe. And even Carl Sagan himself said that. I read it in his book. Yeah. But yeah, we do kind of need a spiritual connection, I think. It's just life, isn't it? It's who we are.
One of the things that I'm starting to reconnect with is music. I went for a very long time without listening to music at all. And are you familiar with Atheist Pastor?
I am. I've met him, Chris. Yeah.
Yes.
He used to live in my town.
Oh,
We
really?
went and had a beer together. Yes.
Uh-huh.
I've met Chris twice. He moved. My town's Wollongong, which is about an hour south of Sydney. He lived here, which was quite bizarre because I met him online, not knowing that he was from here. And there's certain things started to click. It's just like, hang on, this sounds just a bit all too familiar. And then we realized that I jumped on his show once when he did Six Pack, Friday Night Six Pack, he used to call it. And then we realized afterwards, talking backstage, that he was local. So we got in contact. We caught up a couple of times. He came to my studio in town. And also we got together and got quite drunk, actually. So, yeah, I do know Chris, yep. He's moved to Canberra, so I haven't seen him for a while, but I communicate with him online.
He once wanted to get American reactions to Aussie music. And he used me
Yeah,
as one, and
yeah.
he had me listen to 3 different songs. And when he played the 3rd song, I started crying.
Mm,
And when the song was done, I said, "That's why I don't listen to music.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
has such a profound emotional impact on me. I can listen to a song and be sad for the next 3 days."
That's why I do listen to music because it affects me in that way.
And
Um,
that's why I wanna start listening again
mm,
because I've been so emotionally not quite dead, but pretty close to
yeah,
it for so
mm,
long
yeah.
that I kinda wanna turn myself back on again.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful for that reason. And I remember you saying that, Gigi,
Mhm,
when we first started communicating,
mhm,
that yeah, you didn't really listen to music
mhm,
because it affected you in that way. I guess it's similar to me. If I look at old photographs and things like that, I
mhm,
tend to avoid it because it
mhm.
takes you back to another time, and can get you very emotional and caught in a moment and thinking back to when, whereas overall I like to live in the now. If there's one thing I've taken from new age spirituality, it's living for now, being in the moment. So yeah, I do kind of try and avoid that, but I understand why music had affected you in that way and you didn't want to connect with it. But look,
I have the same reaction putting my car in reverse. It
yeah.
tends to take me back.
Yeah, right, yeah, I know what you mean. It does. It can be painful. It can be painful, but it's also beautiful. I think you've just got to deal with the agonizing thing. And because when I look at old photographs, I still really enjoy it. And it literally just takes me back to a moment, as it does for everyone. Um, yeah, you can't ignore
That's
that
definitely
stuff.
one of the songs that used to get to me. Yep, that is "Alone Again Naturally." Yeah, I used
Alone
to listen.
again, naturally. Yeah,
Yep.
I know the song. It was one of my brother's favorite songs when we were kids. Yeah. Um, is that Was that Gilbert and Sullivan or Gilbert?
I
Who
don't
sang that
remember. I
again?
don't remember. It's been so long. Let's see, I'll look it up real quick.
"In a little while from now."
Mhm. Yep, Gilbert Sullivan.
Gilbert R. Sullivan, yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song, yes. Heartbreaking and just absolutely beautiful. If I ever write a song as good as that, I'll be a very, very happy man.
Thank you for becoming a new member, Robert X.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Robert. That's awesome. Um,
Okay, we are about out of time. So before we sign off, I will tell people what I have coming up. But first, is there anything else that we did not get to that you wanted to mention?
no, I guess, we pretty much covered everything. Look, just jump on board and be a part of the channel as it grows. Everyone is welcome. Your ideas are genuinely welcome, and there's a strong likelihood that if you're able to offer something in the way of an idea, artistic stuff, musical, whatever, there's a pretty good chance that it's going to appear in some form on the channel. We'll put it out there.
Mhm.
So yeah, we've pretty much covered everything. I don't think I can add too much
Okay,
to what
very
we've
good.
spoken about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next week, my guest is going to be Professor Plink, and that should be a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun.
Is he in a superhero comic or something like that name?
He
Professor
is an
Plink definitely sounds like a
he's an
comic
he's
book
an
character.
atheist YouTuber. He does
Right.
not appear in person. He has an avatar, and his avatar looks like a thin man in a suit, but the head is it looks kind of like oh gosh, an anemone. It's pink, and it's got
Yeah, right.
lots of tentacles or something coming out of it.
Anime, is that what?
I was thinking of a sea anemone. It looks kind of like a
Okay,
pink
okay.
sea anemone,
Right,
or it could
okay.
be a mop head. I'm not sure exactly what that pink thing on top of that his head is supposed to be.
Yeah,
That will
well, I
be
don't
one
know.
of
I
the
haven't seen it.
questions that I'll ask him. What is your head?
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a question that needs to be asked, in all
Mhm.
fairness. So, I'm sure you'll get that one sorted, Granny.
Oh, Asho says he thinks it might be a tribble from Star Trek.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I have coming up, and I know that the videos that I have put out the last 2 weeks have been a bit dry. I put them out at the specific request of a theologian, or not theologian, a young earther who told me that I wouldn't be able to do it, and I said, "Yeah, I can." There you go. Um,
Granny always can.
yeah, but it is geology, and geology can get a bit dry. So next week we're going to be doing something fun, which is priests in hell. I have a video from a Catholic woman telling what we need to do to help priests in hell.
It sounds really interesting. I'm definitely tuning in for that, as long as it doesn't happen at 3 a.m. for
Well,
me. So
that one's going to be one of my scripted videos, so it'll release
right,
on Friday morning, but you can watch it anytime.
watch it
It's not
anytime.
live,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. No, that sounds good. Yeah. That's how you get across to people with ideas like that. That's how you can cross that echo chamber, and get beyond that. That sounds really interesting and colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need some music for that?
I don't know yet. I haven't started working on the script yet. I'll do the script on Monday, and I'll
Okay, I
shoot
know,
it
I know,
on.
I know someone that does music. That's also like,
If I need any music, I'll know by Monday afternoon, which will be your Tuesday morning.
Yep. Just let
Okay.
me know, and some people in the chat may be able to contribute too, because that's a whole idea.
Mr. Shadow City Kitty says geology rocks, but geography is where it's at.
I love that. I can geology rocks. I can use that. There you go. There's a lyric for a song right there.
Mhm. And with that, thank you to everyone in the chat for your comments and questions that have added to the show. It's been wonderful. Thank you, Art, for coming and telling us about the Utopians. We've had a
Absolute
great time.
absolute pleasure. It's always lovely chatting with you and being around you. So, and yeah, look, people on the chat, join in, be part of it.
Mhm. Okay, live your life.
Thanks, guys. See ya.